Commitment. What does commitment really mean? That is one of the virtues off the list of 52 virtues that I started reviewing with my children over a year ago, especially during COVID, was an opportunity for us to really ground our children. We felt that God had placed us in a place where we could heal and work through some things in our lives. And I definitely felt that tugging on my heartstrings to really look at myself and to see what it is that I really wanted to do with my life. And it's still been a transition for me as our children are um, growing, adapting to their new environment at school. Now in a different state, in a different school system, we're just kind of taking it day by day. But one of the things I'm definitely grateful for is this list actually coming to me. It was during a time where I was going to help with the um, the children's Bible study group, and that did not happen as we moved to a different state. We left that church and we moved to a different state. But I used that opportunity again, COVID, to really ground our children. I think, anytime is that we have the anytime that we have the time to really talk to our children, to communicate with them, to talk with our children, to speak with them, to listen to what they're saying, um, to not only listen to the words that are coming out of their mouths, but also to their body language. You know, how is their body language in consistently aligned with their words? What is going on with that? And so commitment is one of the true roles, I think, of parenthood, that we have a commitment not only to our children to help them be the best versions of themselves, to help to protect them, to preserve them. They help them with their mind, their body, their spirits, to guide them along the path, giving them principles, things to stand by, light, sharing our life lessons. That's all part of our commitment to say that although I have gone through this, I've experienced this, I'm going to do the best I can to help you not experience it, to help you navigate your earthly journey to the best of your ability. And that's part of breaking the cycle of pain and creating a generational love cycle. So I always read the definition of the word. So commitment is caring deeply about something or someone. And I believe that before we commit to others, we have to commit to ourselves. That means we have to love ourselves, love ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And as we say, accept ourselves as we are. Because, many of the things I think that goes on in the home has to do with the lack of self-love, has to do with a lack of acceptance. Because if we can't accept ourselves, then how can we accept our children? How can we love them the way they need to be loved? How can we pay attention to what it is that they're going through if we're so into our wounds, if we're, licking our wounds, if we're still hurting and we're still confused? Often these pain concepts get transferred over to our children. They see it. They know it. They're more enlightened because they haven't been through a lot of stuff that we've been through. But yet still they have that compassion, that love for us, that often they can see ourselves in pain and they will disregard their pain just to help us. Commitment is deciding carefully what you want to do, then giving it 100%, holding nothing back. Parenthood is a commitment. It's a commitment to ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, to heal from the inside out. It's to do that for our children. I think once we do that, once we are committed to ourselves, then and love ourselves and accept ourselves, this shows in everything that we do. in everything that we do. And it really, I always would say, what I say to you, I say to myself. And as I'm saying these words, because I didn't practice what I'm speaking, but to really apply it to my life as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a writer, someone who is committed to living out my purpose and doing the best I can, staying committed. Because we have days where we're not at our best, where we feel like we have failed ourselves or failed our children, where we may feel lost. I had one of those days on Monday where I didn't feel up to par, and and we have to recognize those days. And I think, part of dealing with our emotions is knowing what to say to our children, when to say it, and also to somehow containing that pain so it doesn't project on others, so that confusion doesn't project on others, but saying to our children too, when the time is right, that it's okay, that every day you may not feel your best, but like my mom would tell us, live another day, that you won't know how the next day will be unless you are there to see it. And I know often we will beat ourselves up. We will call ourselves outside of our names. We will critique ourselves, criticize ourselves. I mean, really critique to a point that it's criticism and it's unhealthy criticism. We'll never get things right. We start generalizing, we're not a good parent, or, how can I do this? We start doubting ourselves and doubting our ability to do certain things. And the opposite of that is committing that although I feel this way today, it is not going to determine my other days. I'm going to allow myself this moment, because when we feel doubt, when we feel fear, when we feel anxious or whatever it may be, when we feel those things, that is an opportunity for self growth. It's an opportunity because those emotions are there as data. And I've said that before. They are not there to, put you in an early grave or for you to think negative about yourself. They're there to help you to dig deep and pull the weeds of those thoughts that are causing those emotions and feelings to pop up, to stay with you a little bit. What exactly is causing that? Why? And I had to look at that. Why did I feel doubtful? Especially when it comes to writing, and being in college, and and I remember going back to my undergrad and really just feeling like, uh, like I wasn't a good writer, and having a teacher put me with someone because I needed to work more on my writing, and getting my first C in writing, and I was pretty much an A B student, So when there is commitment, we don't let our emotions and our feelings direct our path. There, and a good example of that is, when I think about, the story of Jesus and what they presented, with him, and how, even though he had people to tell him, you are not this, laugh at him, talk about who he hanged around with, who's around, he still had that conviction, that commitment to serving that purpose that he was here to do. And so, despite his circumstances, despite the followers, despite what people said, despite what people believed, despite even how he felt, that he knew ultimately, I am here for a purpose, for a reason. And I often tell my children that, almost every day, that your life has meaning and purpose. I will often tell them that right before they go to bed, because I want their brain, I want that to really sink in. Not only that I love you, not only the Lord's Prayer, but also your life has meaning and purpose. And we have to encourage our children to stay committed to that purpose. And you mix it with loving themselves. And I believe that if we have that, we would have a decreased amount in violence and bullying. I talked to a girl today, and she had said too, like my son, she's experienced bullying at her school. So I think we would see less of that: teenage pregnancy, suicide. Again, all these other concepts of pain, all these other definitions of pain or examples of pain. We would see less of that if we had more of a commitment to ourselves first, to our life, to our lives, to commitment to our purpose, and that rolls over into helping our children to feel the same way. Because often when you look at pain, we often want people to, when we're in pain, unfortunately, sometimes, right? Sometimes people who hurt others, that we're in pain, and then we end up transferring that pain to our children. And then we wonder, then others are wondering, why are they acting that way? Instead of transferring pain, we need to transfer love. We need to transfer, you don't have time for a lot of this foolishness. You don't have time to dominate others. You don't have time to make others feel bad. We're here to edify them. You have divine gifts and talents. You need to focus on that. There is a time for play. There's a right time for play. And there in no way is undermining people, dominating them, saying hurtful words, calling them outside their name is playing. I just wanted to say that. Commitment also is you give your all to your friendship, a task, or something you believe in. You finish what you start and you keep your promises. How many promises have we made to our children, to ourselves, that we were going to do stuff and broke those promises? A commitment is if I say I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. Right? We do our best. We teach our children how to keep promises. We teach them integrity at home. There have been plenty of times where, I didn't feel like doing something, but I was like, okay, I made that promise. And my children will say, Mom, you told us you would. I could have done other stuff instead of look at, I think, 2 movies with Kayla or 1.5. But because I made that promise to her, that commitment, because I'm showing her that when people love you, when they care about you, then their words are not just words. Their words are really what they mean, come from the heart. And it's through our commitment to ourselves that we first show commitment to all other things. Commitment to our finances, commitment to our home, commitment to our children, commitment to our work, commitment to our purpose, commitment to, respect others, that despite, what your background, that I am going to accept you for who you are because I accept myself, because I love myself, because I appreciate myself. See, who we are is often reflected in how we treat ourselves and how we treat others. Listen to your self talk. What commitment are you saying there? Are you committed to demoralizing yourself? Because if you are, more than likely, you're probably demoralizing your children, demoralizing others, dehumanizing them. Are you committed to be a loving parent? Because if you're committed to being a loving parent, then you're basically committing to be a loving person. Because how can you be a loving parent if you're not a loving person? We all have work to do. We are here with divine gifts and talents. Parents, we are here to live out our purpose and to help our children, to guide them to do the same. And it's a huge commitment. As parents, we are teachers as well as learners. We're helping to share information to remind our children who they are at an early age. Remind them their life has purpose. We are committed to their commitment. We're committed to our commitment to be the best version of ourselves. And through that, we must heal. We must daily assess who we are, what we stand for. We must look at our experiences as an objective viewer. How did I respond in this circumstance? What could I have done better? Because life, I believe, gives you second chances. It gives you multiple chances. And it's because life wants to make us better, not bitter. So who are you committed to? What are your commitments as a parent? What are your commitments to yourself? Do you want to represent love and truth, kindness, compassion, acceptance? Or are you committed to divisiveness, to false illusions, to judgment? Are you committed to your purpose? And part of your purpose, I believe it's all our major purpose is all these little purposes throughout. Being, for ourselves when we're an individual, and then being a parent and helping to guide others along their path. Remember, I'm all about no guilt. There's no guilt in what we've done thus far because we cannot change it. But it's all about what can I do now? How can I create a generational love cycle now through commitment? What can I start doing today? And as we continue to climb these mountains of virtues, we know that sometimes we take a couple steps back, we take a couple steps forward. And I've said it to my son. My son said it so profoundly yesterday. He said, Mama, sometimes we need to go backwards in order to go forwards. Backwards in that, and he clarified it too, backwards in learning our lessons, learning from our experiences, and then forward to apply them in a whole new level, whole new insight, whole new understanding. It is our commitment to be the spirits, to align with the spirits that are within us, to be the highest version of ourselves, to do that as a world, humankind. But we have to start with one individual at a time. We have to start with ourselves. So, have you addressed your mind today? If you haven't, when you go to the restroom, address yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself. What is your commitment? What is your commitment here on earth? What resonates with you? And how are you going to represent that commitment? This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycles. We sow seeds. We're always sowing seeds as parents. We're sowing love or we're sowing fear. And fear ends up being hate and violence and all the others. We want to sow seeds of love because that's how we're going to break the cycle of pain. We don't need to struggle with our health. We don't need to struggle with our lives because we know we have something higher, something greater within us. And when you know there is something greater on your side, sometimes it will make things seem like they're not as horrible to go through. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're going through something until you have come out on the other side. Because your faith is so strong that I am committed to living out my purpose in life. As always, make this lifetime great because guess what? No matter what, you still can.